In this video, I'm gonna help you solve one of the biggest pains for deep tech and climate tech entrepreneurs: how to generate and land customers. Deep tech founders often struggle to return their cutting-edge tech into sales. I promise that by the end of the video, you'll know exactly what step to take to start bringing in revenue for your deep tech or climate tech startups. Deep tech startups face unique challenges: complex products, longer time to market, higher barriers to entry that make sales tougher. But don't worry, we're going to tackle those challenges head on. Why listen to me? I've been there and seen it. I've coached dozens of deep tech and climate tech founders. I've interviewed deep tech and scale up and CEO about how they made it. I even launched a tech startup myself and made a lots of mistakes so that you don't have to repeat them. I also led a deep tech accelerator program where half of the company are still alive today, which is far above the market average for deep tech and climate tech company. Usually the survival rate for even startup in general is 10%. In short, I've spent years in the trenches of deep tech entrepreneurship, and I've distilled the lesson from all these experiences into actionable tips for you. Here's the plan. I'm going to walk through 6 crucial tips, plus a few bonus insights to generate revenue as a deep tech founders. You'll cover each one in depth with example. By focusing on those steps, you'll learn how to sell effectively even with a complex product and zero initial customer. Sounds good? Let's jump into those tips one by one. Founders lead sales from day one. Your only job is to sell as CEO in the early days. As a deep tech founder, especially if you are the CEO, you need to be your startup's first and main salesperson for a very long time, until you reach 20 to 30 employees, or you can afford to hire a sales director whom you will train yourself. In practical terms, that means you should start talking to customers on day one of your venture, even before you formally incorporate the company or build a product. It might sound crazy to sell before you even have a product, but this is exactly what the most successful founders did and do. They engage customer early to validate that their idea provides real value. Remember, no value, no company. If you can't find a real pain point and someone willing to pay to solve it, then all the fancy technology in the world won't create a business. Why must you, the founder, lead sales initially? Those are the few reasons. First, no one can sell your vision better than you. In deep tech and climate tech, you're often selling a vision of the future as much as a product. Early customers are buying into the promise to solve a problem, not just a list of features. A hired sales rep simply won't have the same passion or authority that you have to make promises and adapt the offer on the fly. Only the founder can say, yes, we can tweak the product to do that in real time to a customer. You have the flexibility to adjust and the credibility to make big claims. Early customers often bet on the founder as much as they bet on the tech. Immediate feedback loops. By doing sales yourself, you get unfiltered feedback from potential customer. Every rejection and objections teaches you something invaluable about what the market really wants or doesn't want. If you delegate this too early, you risk losing interest and touch with customer needs. Founders who hide in the lab for years often end up building something nobody needs. A fatal mistake in any startup. Engaging customers from day zero via sales conversation is actually a form of product validation and development. It keeps you building the right thing, and you want to build the right thing, right? It's essential for product market fit. Only by personally talking to dozens of prospects can you figure it out if you truly solve a painful problem. In fact, one experienced founder turned VC advises beginning with 50 to 100 conversations with potential customers about the problem before you even build anything. This discussion will shape your product. You're essentially selling the idea to gauge the interest. If people won't even talk to you about the problem, that's a red flag. If they talk but won't agree to some kind of pilot of letter of intent, that's an even bigger red flag. You can't outsource learning. Every sales is not just about revenue. It's about learning who your real customer is and what they actually need. As the founder, you need that knowledge firsthand. Hiring a salesperson before you have learned to fly, hiring a salesperson too early is like hiring a pilot before you've learned yourself how to fly. It just doesn't work. If you don't understand the sales process for your own product, you won't even know how to train or to manage a sales director, and you risk being bullshitted by fancy sales hire. So roll up your sleeves. And get those first customers yourself. It will make you a better leader down the line. Now, how early is early? Day one means day one. Even if your deep tech startup is just you and you in a patent or a prototype or in a lab or an idea, are reaching out to potential customer now. Do not fall for the myth that you should perfect your tech first. Customer will come later. Many founders succumb to the field of dream fallacy. If you build it, they will come. This is dangerously false, especially for deep tech. No one knows you and your product. No one knows you or your product exists when you're new. You won't magically get inbound interest. Every early customer must be actively hunted and won through personal outreach. Real life deep tech success story all feature founders who spend enormous energy and hours on outreach, cold emails, leveraging any network contact they have, attending industry events, whatever it took to get in the front line of the right people. For example, early on, there is no such thing as inbound sales for startups. Your first 10, 50, 100 customer will only come from you doing relentless outbound efforts, you, the founders. So start now. Make a list of target customers, individual or companies, reach out and talk about the problems. Listen more than you pitch. You don't know what you're doing. This is sometimes called problem validation. You are effectively interviewing them to see if the problem you want to solve is important enough for them to listen. You don't even want to sell. You want to listen. You want to learn about their daily life. Once you have something to show, demonstrator, prototype, to those people can become your first lead for pilot sales. This founder-led sales approach not only helps you craft a product people actually need, it also means by the time you have a product to sell, you already have a pipeline of warm contacts who want it. In summary, as a CEO, you can delegate many tasks, coding, finance, ops, but do not delegate sales early on. Your job is to walk the talk and prove the business case by securing real customers. Keep selling as your top priority until you have consistent revenue and a repeatable sales process. Then you can bring in a sales director to scale it up. And you will know enough not to be fooled by any nonsense because you've done it before yourself. Quick reality check. When should you actually hire a sales leader? Conventional wisdom says not too soon. One sales expert advises founders to hold off hiring a VP of sales until they've personally done at least 50 sales calls or demos, are closing deals at a healthy rate, which means 15 to 25% win rate. Only then do you have a playbook someone else can learn with. In practice, this often corresponds to reaching a certain revenue milestones. Many say around 1 to 2 million annual recurring revenue before a VP sales is truly effective. Before that, it's founders driven. Of course, the exact number can vary, but the principle stands. Nail your sales formula yourself first. 2. Sell the vision and outcome, not the product features. Technology alone doesn't sell. Outcomes do. As a deep tech or climate tech founder, you're likely building something very complex or even revolutionary. But no matter how advanced your science is, a prospective customer and investor is asking, what can this do for me? In other words, what is the glorious outcome or transformation that your product enables? You need to sell that 10x outcome, the dream, the vision, the end state where customers' life or business is dramatically better. Because of your solution, why focus on the outcome? Because changing behavior and buying new tech is hard, especially in deep tech. Customer won't switch to your new deep tech solution until it is dramatically better than what they have. We often say 10x better to indicate an order of magnitude of improvement. This 10x could be performance, cost, saving, speed, efficiency, safety, or any dimension that matters. For example, if you have an AI that can design new materials, perhaps it needs to be 10x faster or 10x cheaper than traditional R&D. Incremental improvement, 1.5 better, aren't compelling enough in deep tech. You're asking people to take a risk on something new and possibly unproven, so the reward must be huge to justify it. So when you pitch, paint a vivid figure of the glorious outcome your customer will get. Don't drown in technical details of how it works, at least not upfront. Instead, lead the end result with the value. For instance, instead of saying, we have a novel battery chemistry using a double ion intercalation mechanism, say instead, our battery can make electric vehicle drive twice as far for the same weight. Imagine a car that goes 600 miles on a charge instead of 300 miles. See the difference? One is features, the other one is outcome. Always tie it back to concrete benefits or KPI the customer cares about. Dollars saved, time saved, increase revenue. A good rule of thumb is the old adage. Customers don't buy features, they buy outcome. The value or outcome might be making money, saving time, reducing risk, or increasing impact. For climate tech companies, outcome could also include hitting sustainability targets or regulatory compliance. Sell those benefits. As one founder put it after learning the hard way, buyers don't care about features. Buyers care about outcomes. They want to know what's in it for them or their organization. Another powerful angle in deep tech and climate tech is to sell the mission if it aligns with broader goals like ESG, environmental, social governance impact. If your product has positive environmental social benefit, make that part of the value proposition for customer and investor. For example, perhaps your solution not only cuts costs, but also helps a client reduce CO2 emissions or water usage. That can be a big deal. Many companies today are actively looking for technology to help meet their ESG and sustainability goal. By highlighting how your product is 10 times better and furthers a greater good, you appeal to both the pragmatic return on the investment mindset and the value-driven mindset. It gives extra oomph to your pitch. Don't assume people will automatically connect the dots. You have to spell out the glorious future you're offering. For instance, if you have a carbon capture technology, sell the outcome. We can capture 95% of CO2 at half the cost of current methods. That means you can achieve your net zero targets 5 years sooner and impress your stakeholders. If you are a biotech with a new material, this material could eliminate 1 million tons of landfill waste annually once adopted, while also being cheaper than virgin plastic. Those are compelling outcomes that resonate beyond just technical specs. Remember to also make the outcome tangible and relatable. Numbers are great, 10x, 95% reduction, etc. But sometimes vivid description or comparison helps. For example, saying 10 times faster is good. Saying what used to take 10 days now takes 1 day can be even clearer. Use analogy if needed. Our AI software is like having 1,000 interns researching for you and never making any mistake. Tailor the message to your audience's level of understanding and their pain points. An executive might care about high-level outcomes, profit, efficiency, ESG, impact, whereas the technical user might also just appreciate some feature details. But always start with a big outcome before driving into features. Finally, be bold in your vision. If you are deep tech, you are presumably doing something revolutionary. Don't shy away from painting a bold future state. As long as you can back it up eventually, it's part of inspiring customers. People get excited by glorious outcomes. Elon Musk doesn't sell rockets by detailing rocket fuel chemistry. He sells the idea of humans becoming a multi-planetary species. Likewise, you should elevate the conversation to what really matters, the problem you solve, and the better world that creates for your customer. Combine that vision with evidence, pilots, data, demos that you can deliver, and you will hook your audience. In short, flip your pitch from tech centers to value centers. Lead with the X benefit and the mission. Show how your deep tech isn't just interesting science, but a game changer for the customer. That's what makes people willing to sign a contract or cut a check. The promise of a significantly improved outcome. 3. Educate and evangelize every single day. Deep tech and climate tech often tackle revolutionary ideas. And let's face it, revolutionary ideas don't always get embraced overnight. There's a famous saying attributed to Arthur Schopenhauer that our truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. In simpler terms, first, they call you silly, and they call you dangerous, and finally, they say your success was obvious. As a deep tech founder, you must guide your audience through those stages. And the only way to do this is through constant education and communication. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launches the crew. SpaceX first crewed launch drew over 10 million live online viewers. Deep tech can be exciting if you communicate the story well. Don't fall in the trap of thinking my deep tech is boring or too complicated for people to care. The truth is, people love a good tech story. You just have to tell it in an engaging way. Think about it. Every time there's a new rocket launch or a Mars rover landing, millions are glued to their screens with excitement. And not just the tech people. SpaceX 2020 Demo 2 launch had at least 10.3 million concurrent viewers online. And that's just not even counting TV viewers. Clearly, deep tech can capture the public's imagination. The same goes for climate tech. Breakthrough like fusion energy or carbon removal often makes headlines. There is inherent drama and appeal in advanced technology and big solutions. Your job is to harness that by sharing your journey and educating your audience consistently. Be your own evangelist, especially in the early days where no one's know who you are. You need to get people used to you, your company, your value, and even your face. This means putting yourself and your message out there and there every day. So, or as close at it as possible. This means putting yourself and your message out there every day or as close to it as possible. Use any channel that makes sense. LinkedIn post, Twitter, X right now, or personal company blog, YouTube updates, webinar, conference talks, press articles, whatever reaches your target audience. At first, it might feel like shouting in a wood. You might post an update about your technology and share a useful insight and get 1 like, probably from your mom. It's okay. In the beginning, it might feel like nobody cares. You are in Schopenhauer stage 1. Remember, people think it's silly or they're just not paying attention. This part is tough. It's a lonely, long, and often frustrating path. But keep at it. Consistency is key. By communicating relentlessly, even to a small audience, you are building a foundation. Over time, a few people will start to pay attention. Maybe you can get invited to do a podcast or a journalist calls or potential customer comments. This is interesting. Let's talk. The needle moves it slowly, but it moves. And importantly, you are improving your own ability to explain and sell your vision clearly. Side benefit, constantly articulating your value proposition in plain language often helps you refine your thinking and messaging, which feeds back into your sales effectiveness. As you keep educating the market, you will notice a shift. What once sounded crazy might start to think intriguing. This is stage 2, what they call the dangerous state. Some industry folks might even push back or say, if these founders succeed, it could disrupt us. That's actually a sign you're on the right track. Your perseverance in showcasing results, pilot successes, prototype demos, or research findings, or even customer testimonials will gradually turn doubter into skeptics and skeptics into curious followers. People might go from ignoring you to arguing with you. Take that as a progress. They are taking you seriously enough to debate. Keep engaging professionally and keep broadcasting your progress. Finally, if you stick with it and actually deliver on your claims, you enter stage 3, the obvious stage. Suddenly, people say, oh, of course, this idea works. It was a great idea all along. The same idea that was once mocked a couple of years ago is now seen as the logical next step. At this point, you'll be too busy onboarding new customers or scaling up to say, I told you so, but you'll be thinking it. There's a quote attributed to the YouTube entrepreneur Mr. Beast saying that you're crazy until you're successful, then you're a genius. In hindsight, everyone will call you a visionary genius once your deep tech startups succeed, but during the journey, you have to be willing to be called crazy. Embrace it. So practically, what does educate every day entails? A few tips. Share your vision and educate the market about why your technology matters. If you are a climate tech founder, explain the problem you solve. For example, the limitation of the current solar panels tech or how your innovation changed that. If you're an AI, talk about the pain points of current solution and what's possible with your approach. Position yourself as a thought leader in your niche. Even small insights of explanation can build credibility over time. Show the human side and the process. Deep tech journeys are marathons. Share milestone. We've just achieved a 20% increase in efficiency in our prototype, a big step towards our goal of 10x. Or today, we met with our 50th prospective customers. Here's what we learned about the industry's need. This is not only educates, it also demonstrates momentum and grit. People love following a story. Bring them along with you. Engage with the community. Don't just broadcast. Interact. If someone leaves a skeptical comment, like, I doubt this will work because X, you can reply with clarification. You might even win them over, or at least show observer that you are transparent and knowledgeable. Host Q&A sessions or write blog posts addressing common misconceptions in your field. By addressing the ridicule and the opposition openly, you accelerate the movement through the stages. Leverage visuals and demos. Deep tech can be complex, so find ways to simplify. Infographics, short demo videos, before-after comparisons, and analogies are your friends. For example, a climate tech founder might post a short video every week explaining one aspect of climate science or demonstrating a small experiment. Over time, this positions you as an indicator in addition to an entrepreneur. Frequency matters more than perfection. Posting something imperfect but genuine every week beats crafting one perfect white paper that no one reads. You want to be present in the conversation regularly. Over time, the cumulative effect is powerful. People will say, I've heard of that company. They are always sharing useful stuff about this technology. This familiarity breeds trust. When a potential customer finally feels the pain you solve, this will think of first. The company that's been steadily popping up in their LinkedIn field, educating them. The payoff from all this educating and evangelizing is inbound demand. Over time, instead of you always pushing your message out, you will start to get people coming to you. Inbound leads, partnership requests, press inquiries, speaking invitation. This is where momentum really shifts. Inbound, by the way, means leads that initiate contact with you as opposed to you reaching out to them. For example, someone finds your website, it sees your post, and message you for a demo. That's an inbound lead. Inbound leads are golden because they are often high intent. They already believe that you might have value for them to offer. But remember, you only get inbound once you invested a lot in outbound communication and build a reputation. It can take months or years of consistent evangelism. Most people give up because it feels thankless at first. Don't. Even if you feel like nobody cares about your deep tech or startup yet, keep sharing, keep educating. One day, maybe sooner than you think, that persistence will turn into a community of supporters and a pipeline of eager customers who suddenly see you as a genius solutions when in reality you earned it through long-term evangelism. 4. Measure and track your sales pipeline. If you can measure it, you can improve it. Sales is a numbers game as much as it is a people game. And as a founder, you need to be very familiar with your numbers. Many technical founders are uncomfortable with sales and hope that if they build a great product, revenue will somehow just happen. That is a huge mistake. And as discussed, you won't get sales without failing. And to sell effectively, you need to treat it systematically. Track your activities and results rigorously. Think of it like running an experiment, something you might be more comfortable with. You need data to iterate and optimize. In practice, this means setting up a simple system to track every step of your sales funnel, from initial lead to close deal. Early on, a spreadsheet might do, or a basic CRM tool. The tool doesn't matter as much as the discipline of tracking the data. Here are key metrics that you should be measuring and reviewing constantly. One, lead generated. How many leads, potential customer or contact, are you bringing per day? This includes people you cold email, you responded, inbound inquiries, event contacts, referrals, all those people. At the top of the funnel, it's volume matters. No leads, no sales. As a founder in early stage, you might set a goal of 100 new prospect conversation per day. Two, response rate. If you're doing outbound outreach like email, LinkedIn messages, call, what percentage get a positive response and turn into a meeting? This helps gauge the effectiveness of your messaging and targeting. If, for example, you send 50 cold emails and get 5 replies, that's a 10% rate. Now you have a baseline to improve. 3, meetings or demo schedules. How many meetings are you having with prospects each week or each month? This is a critical activity metric. If 1 week you have 0 meetings, that's a red flag. It likely means you need to up your outreach or something in your approach needs adjusting. 4, show up rate. Of course, of all those meeting schedules, how many actually happen versus no shows or cancellation? If many are bailing, maybe you need to send better reminders or ensure you're targeting truly interested people. 5, conversion rates at each stage. Track for progressions. For example, leads to meetings, leads to proposal, quotes to close deals. If you have 100 leads that leads to 20 meetings, 20% conversion, 20 meetings that leads to 5 proposal, 25% of meetings, 5 proposal that leads to 2 deals, 40% of proposal, you can map that funnel. Overall win rate is this example is 2%. So 2 out of 100 led to a deal. Knowing those numbers is incredibly powerful. It helps you identify bottlenecks and forecast outcomes. For example, if you need 4 deals next month, you need historically that 1 in 10 meetings become a deal and 1 in 5 leads become a meeting. You can work backwards and you need roughly 200 leads to get 40 meetings to get four deals. Now you have an action plan. Generate 200 leads instead of just wishfully thinking about 4 deals. Sales cycle length. How long does it typically take from first contact to signed contract? In Deeptech B2B, this might be months or even years, but track it. If you can find ways to shorten the cycle, say by identifying decision maker faster or doing pilots, that's huge for revenue. Keep an eye on the timeline of each deal. Deal size and pipeline value. Record the dollar value of each potential deal. Even if it's an estimate, it helps you know, for example, you have $500,000 of proposal out in the market, of which historically you close 30%, so expect value of 150K. It lets you sleep better at night or realize you need to hustle more. As you engage being bigger customer, you might segment pipelines by small, medium, large deals. Document also the reasons for loss or no decision. Whenever a prospect doesn't convert, try to capture why. Was it a no budget, not a priority right now? Went with customer X, still too experimental, etc. Those insights are gold for refining your product and pitch. Maybe you'll see a pattern that many say, oh, we need feature Y. That's a clue for product roadmap. Or if many say not enough budget, perhaps you're targeting the wrong customer segment. All of this sounds like a lot, but start simple. You can literally have a Google Sheet with the column company, contact, stage, for example, intro call done, pilot proposal sent, next step, and a column for any numerical and a column for any numerical metrics, for example, estimated deal size, probability. Update that table religiously. If you prefer a CRM, great. Tools like HubSpot, Pipedrive, Salesforce, they often have a free startups version and give you nicer dashboard. But the mindset is what matters. Treat sales metrics with the same seriousness you would treat server uptime or lab experiment results. Why is this so crucial? Why do I spend time on this? Because data frees you from relying on just gut feeling or bias. As one VC firm noted, founders often ask how to improve sales, and the answer lies in diving into their funnel metrics. For example, your data might tell you that you're actually decent at closing demos into deals, say 30% close rate, but you're struggling to get enough demo schedule. The diagnosis will mean you need to focus on top of the funnel lead generation. Alternatively, you might see you have plenty of meetings, but very few convert to proposal. That might indicate that your pitch is not resonating or you're targeting low quality leads. Each problem has different solutions. For example, better targeting, better sales script, product changes, but you won't know where to focus unless you have the numbers. Moreover, tracking your process enforces good habit. It's motivating to see, for example, that you're steadily increasing your number of outreach emails or that your conversion rate improved after tweaking your demo. It also keeps you accountable. Founders who don't track anything can fall into complacency, like, I think I talked to some customer last week, like 5 or 6, whereas tracking mindset will show you they did 3 meetings last week, push you to hit, say, 5 next week. Remember the maxim, you can only improve what you measure. And in the startup, continuous improvement is life or death. Let me emphasize a common error I see. Technical founder thinking they can escape the sales job because their product is so unique. They might say, our tech is so awesome, it will sell itself. Or once people hear about this, they will line up. The answer is no. No, they won't. Not without effort. Even if you have something genuinely one of a kind, you still have to get out there and convince people. In fact, if it's truly novel, it requires more education, as we discussed in the tip 3. The strong sales push because people don't have a frame of reference for it. So don't delude yourself into neglecting sales. Track your sales pipeline religiously from the get-go, even if it's small. This also sets the culture for when you do hire a sales team later. They will see that you care about metrics and process, and they will be more likely to adopt that rigor too. One more thing to track, your own time spent on sales. In early stages, I recommend blocking a significant chunk of your schedule exclusively for sales and business development activities. For example, every morning from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is sacred time where you do outreach, follow-ups, contact posting. Then you can spend afternoons on product and order tasks. Many founders make the mistake of doing sales in sporadic bursts. They hustle to get a few leads, then they get excited a customer is interested and spend weeks in product mode or focus work, or custom work, thus neglecting the pipeline. And then after the deal is done and they realize the pipeline is empty and revenue stalls. This feast and famine cycle is dangerous. A better approach is a consistent daily habit of lead generation and follow-up. As a rule of thumb, especially in every 30 days, try to do something to generate or advance a sales every single day. By tracking your time and activities, you can ensure you're dedicating enough effort. Maybe even write down daily. Number of outreach sent, number of follow-ups and made. Those are input metrics that drive the outputs. To summarize this tip, implement a simple sales tracking system and treat selling as a scientific, data-driven process. It doesn't remove the human element, and you still build relationship and adapt to feedback. It gives you visibility and control. You'll be able to answer at any point, how many leads are we working? What's our conversion rate? What are the deal getting stuck? How long does it take to close? This clarity will help better close, make better decision, and ultimately close more deals. And don't worry, if you're not a number person, you're likely to more analytical than you realize. You are in Deeptech after all. Channel that analytical mindset into sales. Your future VP of sales will thank you for laying this groundwork, and until then, you will have a much firmer handle on your road to revenue. One last proof point. Investors and advisors will often ask about those metrics. If you can rental off, we have 30 qualified leads in the funnel, converting at 20% from demo to paid, and our average cycle is 30 months, you will sound much more credible and on top of things than if you say, we've been talking to a few interested companies, not sure how this is going yet. Data inspires confidence. Prospect consistently. Never stop filling the funnel. When you are a founder, prospecting is like brushing your teeth. You have to do it constantly, every day, not just once in a while when you feel like it. One of the biggest error technical founders make is to treat sales as a one-time project instead of an ongoing habit. For instance, you work super hard to get a few potential customer interested, and hallelujah, one says they're ready to buy a pilot or even to buy. In that moment, many founders will shift all their attention to that one big fish, pouring time into onboarding them or customizing the product, and they stop prospecting for new leads. It feels justified. Hey, we got a new customer. Let's focus on making them happy. I agree with that. But while you're doing that, all the other outreach efforts grind to a halt. A month or two later, that pilot might end or that deal might close, or worst case scenario, fall through. And you look up and you realize your pipeline is empty because you stopped feeding it. This is the classic feast or famine trap in sales. Don't break the chain of prospecting. Even when you have exciting conversation in play or even a signed deal, keep doing the activities that generate new opportunities. Tip 4, we suggested maybe blocking 4 hours every morning for sales outreach. Stick to that religiously, especially when you're early stage and hungry for growth. Consistency is what brings in a steady stream of leads, so you're not starting from scratch every time. As one sales expert vividly put it, no salesperson ever eats hard runs by sitting back and waiting. To succeed in sales, you need to proactively generate a consistent stream of new leads to fill the front end of the pipeline. In other words, always be opening relationship, starting conversation, not just always be closing. Think of the sales pipeline as a water pipeline. You need to keep pumping the water in for water to eventually flow out at the other end. If you stop pumping, prospecting, the flow, deals, stops shortly after. If it might not be immediate, there's some momentum, but give it a few weeks and things dry up. On the flip side, if you pump consistently, you create a steady flow and also buffer yourself against deals that will inevitably fall through. If you have 10 leads and 2 drop, you have 8 left out. If you have 2 leads and 2 drop, you have 0. The more prospecting play, the less any one failure hurts you psychologically and financially. What activities count as prospecting for a Deeptech founder? A mix, which you should tailor to your business. Warm outreach, so tapping into your existing customer network, asking for introductions, reaching out to your college alumni, former colleagues, friendly investors, mentors to find potential customers. Always be politely asking, do you know someone in target industry who might be struggling with problem you solve? One intro could snowball into a big contract, but you have to ask consistently. Cold outreach, researching companies or individuals who could benefit from a solution and contacting them out of the blue. Email, LinkedIn, phones. Yes, cold emailing a VP of a big company is intimidating, but it can work if done respectfully and with a clear value proposition. Keep it short and focus on them, the problem you can solve for them. And it's a numbers game. Expect many non-response, but if your cold emails has, say, 5% response, then sending 100 of them could yield 5 conversations. Scale accordingly. Pro tip, personalize as much as possible. It yields better results than pure copy-pasting mass emails. Third types of things you can do as a Deeptech founder is content or social sharing. This ties to tip 3, evangelism. By posting content, you not only educate, but also attract leads. Someone might see your article and realize you could help them. So consider your contact strategy as part of prospecting, just more passive. But you can actually share it. For example, write a LinkedIn post and then personally forward it to a few target people saying, I thought you might find this interesting. It's a soft touch that keeps you on their radar. Fourth thing you can do is networking events and communities, or groups where your potential customers hang out. Could be niche groups, Slack groups, subreddits, and contribute to those discussions. Don't just sell, add value. Over time, people will associate you with the problem space and you will get inbound inquiries from those communities. But also, you can identify prospect there and reach out one-on-one. For example, you can say, I saw your question about X in the forum. Why? My company is actually working on that. Want to chat? It might work. Four things you can do is partnership and referrals. Think about who else sells to your target customer that isn't the competitors. Could you partner up? For example, if you have a novel energy tech for buildings, maybe partner with a company that sells smart HVAC system to piggyback on their sales channel, or ask satellite pilot customers for referrals to others in the industry who might benefit. Always be politely closing the loop. For example, do you know one or two other people who might be interested in hearing about what we do? Simple question. The last thing you can do is use paid ads, but carefully. Early on, you usually don't have big marketing budget, and with Deeptech, the audience is often specific and hard to reach via generic ads. But if you do have some budget after a while, targeting LinkedIn ads or sponsoring a niche industry newsletter can generate some leads. Just track the ROI closely. You can burn money fast with those pay ads. Generally, I would rely on hustle and targeted outreach before spending on ads in early stages. The key thread is daily activity. Make prospecting a habit as ingrained as checking your email. You check your email every day, do sales every day. If one approach isn't yielding results after sustained efforts, iterate and try another. But don't stop prospecting. If you catch yourself saying, we're busy right now with this one big prospective client, let's pause outreach, slap yourself, metaphorically of course, and go send 10 emails. Busy is good, but don't let busy kill your future business. There's a quote, sales cures all. Having a pipeline of potential deals can solve a lot of startup problems, whereas running dry on pipeline magnifies those problems. Also, track your prospecting, as we said, set activity goals. For example, each day I will reach out to 10 new prospects, or each week, or every week I will add 200 new leads to the list and connect with them. By gamifying it, you will ensure you maintain the momentum. Some days will feel tedious, or you will face a lot of rejection. Push through it. Remember that even the best startups hear no a lot before they hear yes. One more psychological benefit of constant prospecting, it gives you a leverage in negotiation. If you have only one interested customers, you might bend over backwards and concede too much to close them. Pricing, optimization, etc. Out of desperation. If you know you have 10 other leads in various stages, you can negotiate more confidently and walk away from bad deals. An abandoned pipeline means confidence. Scarce pipeline means panic. Prospecting is the oxygen of your startup sales. Don't hold your breath. Inhale, meaning add new lead, and exhale, follow up consistently. Make it part of your daily routine, especially when you think you don't need to. That's the tricky part. The moment you feel you're good and can ease up is exactly the moment you should double down and keep filling the funnel. This habit will create a virtuous cycle of growth and protect you from the roller coaster of sporadic sales. As the saying goes in sales organization, ABC, always be connecting or always be closing in a classic movie line. As a founder, you always have to be creating ABC, always be creating a pipeline. Keep that faucet running. 6, embrace the CEO role. Lead, sell, and delegate the take. The last tip is a bit of tough love for technical founders. If you choose right now to be the CEO, your days as chief engineers are numbered or are already over. You cannot do everything. And as the company grows, your focus must shift towards entirely to leadership and sales. In a deep tech startup, it's common that the founding team has a CEO and a CTO, which might be you and a co-founder, or you wear both hats at first. But as soon as you have a competent technical team or a co-founder, the CEO needs to let them handle the nuts and bolts of the technology execution while the CEO concentrates on building the business around that technology. Think of it this way. The CEO's job is actually a collection of sales jobs. You're not just selling to customer. You're constantly selling to investors, to potential employees, to partners, or even to the press, to the public. A legendary quote sums it up. The CEO is a top salesman, company advocate, public relation spokesman, evangelist, organization champion, cheerleader, and chief customer relationship officer, all of which takes selling. In other words, your role is to inspire confidence and get buy-in from everyone your company interacts with. Let's break down the CEO sales role. First one is chief customer salesperson. As we hammered in the earlier tips, you lead the charge in acquiring customers and closing deals, especially early on. Even later, you will be likely be brought in selling big strategic deals or talk to clients because of your vision and authority. Second role you have is chief fundraiser. If you're raising capital, VC grant, that's a sales process too. You're selling the potential of your business to investors. It requires storytelling, confidence, and persistence, just like selling to customer with a different angle. Deep tech startups require significant funding, so you might spend a lot of time pitching investor. That's time not spent coding or in the lab. Third role you have as a CEO of a deep tech company, team recruiter and motivator. When you hire employee, especially early team members, you're selling them on your vision and why they should join your risky startups over a stable job. You have to convince them that your company will change the world and make them fulfilled and maybe rich. Once they join, you also sell the mission to them continuously to keep them inspired, and you need to sell your decision to the team to lead effectively. If a key employee is getting wounded by another company, you tell them on why they should stay. See the pattern? It's human communication and persuasion all day. Fourth role of the CEO, partnership and media evangelist. You might need to forge partnership with bigger companies or secure a research collaboration. That's selling the idea of working with your startups. Talking to media or speaking at conference is selling the public on your vision and credibility. Even handling skeptical board members is a form of selling. Selling them on your strategy so that they continue to support you. All this is a full-time job and then some. You simply won't have the bandwidth to be writing code, running experiments, or managing every technical detail if you are fulfilling the true CEO duties. If you try to cling on to your technical work and do the CEO work, both work will suffer. Both sides will suffer. I've seen founders burn out or hold their company back because they couldn't let go of being the smartest engineer in the room. Don't let your ego or your comfort zone trap you. If you like coding or science more than anything, it might be that you should have a business partner, be the CEO, or consider taking a CTO role yourself. If you are the CEO today or willing to be, you have to step up to executive functions. It might be help to reframe it. Instead of engineering the product, you are now engineering the organization and the market presence. It's a different kind of creation, using people skills and strategy rather than code, but it's creation nonetheless. To successfully make this transition, hire or delegate the technical execution to a trusted lead, CTO or VP of engineering, as soon as you can. Ensure they are capable and then trust them. Get updates, be involved in high-level technical decision, yes, but don't micromanage every commit or experiment. Your CTO should run the R&D so you can run the company. Schedule regular check-in, like weekly or bi-weekly deep dive, where they brief you on progress, challenge, and resource needs. Outside of those, free your schedule for the business side priorities. A practical tip, if you find yourself still spending lots of time debugging or designing circuits or whatever your core work is, actively start blocking that time for other tasks or even physically separate yourself, spend more days out of the lab or in customer events or at offices. It can be emotionally hard to let go because your identity might be tied to being a brilliant scientist or developer, but realize that your impact as CEO can be even greater. You are enabling an entire team to succeed and bring your product to the world. You go from single player mode to team coach mode. Different satisfaction, but great in its own way. Also, if you don't make this shift, you risk becoming a bottleneck. For instance, if every technical decision waits for your approval, you slow down progress. Or if you're busy tweaking your design when you should be meeting a big potential customer, you could miss a huge opportunity. Opportunity cost is real. As a CEO, your highest and best use is usually external facing, customer, investor, and high-level internal decision, strategy, and key hire. If you're doing lower-level tasks that someone else could do 80% as well, you're underutilizing yourself. Let's address the flip side. What if you don't want that life? If by listening to me, you think I became a deep tech founder because I love technology, not because I want to be a salesperson or manager, then have an honest conversation with yourself and your team. Because perhaps you can bring in a CEO or a co-founder who handles those parts while you focus on CEO duties. There's no shame in that. In fact, many great companies have had technical founders step into CTO roles while the business-focused partners take CEO. For example, at some point, a professional CEO might be hired. Investors often appreciate self-awareness. They'd rather have you in the right role than struggling with you in the wrong one. However, in the early phase, if you are the CEO by circumstance, you will have to wear that hat until a transition is possible. So either way, the advice about focusing on business still applies in the short term. In summary, the CEO of a deep tech startup must be the chief seller of vision to customer, investor, to employees, to everyone. You should have no time to do pure technical work beyond guiding strategy and reviewing high-level progress. If you use your time correctly, you'll be out in the field making deals, on stage pitching, in office recruiting, and generally pushing the company forward. That's the job. That's the CEO job. If you find yourself in the code or in the lab too much, you're likely neglecting something very critical for the business side. And unfortunately, if the business side fails, no customer, no funding, no hires, the best tech in the world won't matter. To quote a startup mentor, those who can sell can be a business. Someone has to give you money. They don't do it willingly. As CEO, you have to get lots of people to willingly give you money. Customer for products, investor for equity. This is your calling. Embrace it, and your startup will have a far greater chance to thrive. If you truly embrace this role, you transition from being just a tech expert to being a leader who builds an enterprise around that tech. That's how you feel the ultimate vision of your deep tech innovation. To wrap up this whole video, let's quickly recap the key tips to generate revenue as a deep tech founder. Tip 1, founder-led sales. Start selling immediately and be the chief salesperson until you have a repeatable sales process. Talk to your customers from day one to validate the need and iterate through product market fit. No hiding in the lab. Get out and sell the problem first. Tip 2. Sell outcomes, not just tech. Craft your pitch around a 10x better outcome and a compelling vision. Focus on how you solve the customer problem and the tangible benefit. Use the deep tech wow factor to your advantage by linking it to ESG or a big mission goal when relevant. 3. Educate and evangelize. Be loud and consistent in telling your story. Post update, sharing knowledge, building a following. Accept that early on you'll be crazy until one day you will be seen as a genius. This persistent communication will create trust and eventually inbound interest. Tips number 4. Track your funnel metrics. Implement a metric-driven approach to sales. Know your numbers, leads, conversion rates, cycle time, and improve them. Treat sales like an engineering problem. Use data to optimize each stage of your funnel. Tips 5, prospect daily. Always be filling the pipeline. Even when you have paying customers, continue prospecting consistently so you don't run out of opportunities. Make sales outreach a daily habit to avoid the feast or famine trap. Tip 6, CEO equals Chief Sales Officers. Embrace that as a CEO, your primary job is to sell and lead, not build the tech. Delegate the technical execution to your team, the CTO, for example, and focus on customer, investor, and team building. If you prefer coding, consider a different role. But if you are the CEO, step up on the business leadership fully. By following those steps, you'll transform from a founder with a cool technology into a founder with a growing business. Revenue is the lifeblood that will fund your R&D, attract investment, drive impact in deep tech and climate tech. The journey is not easy. It's a lot of hustling, learning, adapting, but it's incredibly rewarding when you see your innovation actually getting into customers' hand and making a difference. Next steps, take a hard look at your current focus and calendar. Are you spending enough time on sales activities? If not, reprioritize using those tips as a guide. Maybe tomorrow morning, you schedule 3 customer discovery calls, or you post a LinkedIn article explaining your text value, or you create a simple dashboard of your pipeline, or maybe all 3. Start with small actions, but keep them consistent. Over the next weeks, try to implement one tip at a time. You'll start to see a positive changes in your traction. And finally, remember that every great deep tech company began with the founder selling a big dream and making it real one step at a time. You have the dream and the tech. Now go out there and sell it. You've got this. Good luck and let's generate some revenue.